What's up, guys? Raziel here. I just finished the main story quest completely in Final Fantasy XIV's latest expansion, Shadowbringers, and this video is my review, what I think so far, what I thought of the experience, and am I disappointed, or did things exceed my expectations? Let's find out.
I am Raziel.
Well, the main story quest is over. Keep in mind, this is completely unscripted. I have put some footage in the background that I made sure is spoiler-free, just so that, you know, I can continue to... I wanted to talk about this fresh, but this is going to be spoiler-free on the story. I'm not going to spoil anything in the story here. I just wanted to give my review. I completed the main story quest like an hour and a half ago, and then just unlocked the level 80 stuff to do later and start grinding out endgame gear. But I wanted to give you my opinion on the overall experience that Shadowbringers has been for me. If you don't know already, and I've mentioned it before in other videos on my stream, that in my opinion, up to the launch of Shadowbringers, the expansion of Heavensward was my favorite. It was my favorite experience thus far in Final Fantasy XIV. That's all changed. Final Fantasy XIV's latest expansion, Shadowbringers, is, in my opinion, storyline-wise, music-wise, just the overall experience was so much better than even Heavensward. And that's saying a fucking lot coming from me. I was just blown away by the story. Square Enix has completely 100% outdone themselves. They've outdone themselves. This expansion so far is way beyond my expectations. It's been... The character development has been great. So, you know, I'm just going to, instead of just rambling on, I'm going to go with each point and give you my rating, 1 out of 10 in comparison. So, to give you an overall comparison, Heavensward overall, I would say was probably an 8.5 or a 9 in terms of just overall. But, and I would say Stormblood was probably somewhere in the vicinity of a 7, 7.5, above average in how MMOs go. So in Shadowbringers, though, I'll get to a final verdict in a second. I want to go over what I think about each thing. So first and foremost, Shadowbringers, how does it look? How do the zones look? The zones, every single zone was amazing. I mean, the art team is great. That's Rousey scratching himself in the background. The art team outdid themselves. Every zone is gorgeous. It's beautiful. There was only one zone, which was the very last zone you go to in the game, that I didn't hate it, but I wasn't super impressed. It seemed pretty basic to me until you get to the end of that zone and everything's completely different. I'm not going to spoil anything, but yeah, it's so they throw that curveball on you even in the art and the zones. So the zones, I would give them a 9, 9.5. They were... It's really hard for me to reach perfect 10, just so you know. But the zones were amazing. All of them were gorgeous. The atmosphere, the immersion, the feel of all the new zones was great. I felt in that world all the time because of the aesthetics. That was one of the contributing factors to why I felt in part of it. Okay, next up, the music, the sound. This has to be one of the greatest things about this expansion. All of the soundtracks are amazing. They're so good. The composition is so immersive. It's so heartfelt. You can sense the emotion in the moments in the story that it uses music in a certain way. Every zone, again with the exception of the very last one, I absolutely fell in love with. The last one I didn't hate. The last zone's music, I didn't dislike it. It just didn't really reverberate with me. Is that the right word? It didn't really pull me in as much as the other ones, but it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. But it was, yeah, so I would give the music a 9 to a 9.5 because the music was just gorgeous. So much better than Stormblood's soundtrack, and I would say on par, if not better, than Heavensward's soundtrack. Heavensward had an amazing soundtrack. I would say they're probably even, simply because I can't think of a single song in Heavensward I didn't like or it didn't do something for me. God damn, man. But Shadowbringers had one song that I was like, eh, okay. But yeah, it was, the music was fantastic. And again, that's just personal preference. People may go into that last zone and love the music and think it's great. So that's just me. Okay. Now on to class balance. Now, I'm not going to have a whole lot to say on this because obviously I just finished the main story quest, so I've only played what I'm maining this expansion to level cap at this point. So I don't have an opinion about every single job. Next on, so Dark Knight is the job obviously that I went to 80 with first. Eventually, next on the list is going to be Samurai, and then after that, possibly Gunbreaker, then Paladin, then Warrior, then Ninja. I probably won't level Dancer. It's just not my jam. But I'll have all the tanks at level cap. That's just how I roll. But a lot of people went into Shadowbringers with the impression that things got dumbed down, things are too easy, whatever, what have you. I don't feel that way. Dark Knight plays much faster and it's much more fluid and less spammy of the same ability over and over and over again as it was in Stormblood. Like in how Dark Arts got changed mainly. I'll have a whole nother video about Dark Knight here coming sometime today or tomorrow. But I felt like the balance was fine. I think that the damage, the change in mechanics in terms of healers heal more and damage do more damage more. I think it's working out so far. Granted, I haven't done any extreme modes yet, which is coming around the corner. I'm going to start soon. But so far, I think it's balanced and it's fun. I do know they're like Dancer will probably get a nerf here because they're doing insane amounts of damage. But that comes with every expansion. Balance is going to come in later in the first 6 to 8 weeks of the game. And we're still in week 1. So, okay. Now, the big point of the review, the storyline. Let me get adjusted here. So the story in Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, right from the get-go, was very engrossing, very immersive. It's the best. It's a fantastic, amazing, well-written, well-thought-out, well-plotted story that even if this was a single-player game would count as probably one of the better Final Fantasy stories I've played. And I've played a lot, and if anyone knows how high of a regard I give towards the Final Fantasy storylines, like top of my head, you all know my favorite story in game is Tactics, followed by a tie between Final Fantasy VI and 7, and then 4, and then probably 9 after that. But the stories in this game, the Final Fantasy XIV storyline far exceeded my expectations. When you think you know what's going on, you call into your own actions. You call your own actions of your character in the story thus far, all the way through a Realm Reborn, Shadowbringer. I mean, Realm Reborn, Heavensward, and Stormblood into question. If you're doing the right thing, you actually feel empathy for certain enemies that have been around in a long time because you get more backstory and more context of why they're doing what they're doing. Again, at the end of the main story line quest, there's a huge cliffhanger. Another, a lot more information is revealed about you as a character, your character that you made in the whole grand scheme of things and Destiny and all the different worlds of from the source to all the way to the 1 through 13 of the worlds. I was blown away consistently. I was like, holy shit, I didn't even think of that as a possibility. Hats off to the writers at Square, Yoshi P and his team. The storyline was intense. It was fantastic. The abilities, I mean not the abilities, sorry, the cutscenes were all beautifully voice acted, the ones that were voice acted. You're really invested in every single character that was newly introduced, as well as characters that have been around from the start. It's a perfect example of how to make a story, not just for an MMO, but for, you know, a game in general, an RPG in general, which I want to bring out the sentiment that if you're the kind of person that plays MMOs, MMORPGs anyway, but you kind of skip over and ignore the RPG part, the entire storyline, why are you playing Final Fantasy XIV, essentially? But because all that other stuff, the end game, you know, the non-stop fighting, the grinding stuff out, that all comes later. I would say, and I'm somebody who kind of skips over some side quest stuff. I'm not as interested in that. The main storyline quest, though, I watched with bated breath every cutscene, and it's been one of the best stories I've ever played through. So, other companies making RPGs, other companies making MMOs, I would say take note, because this is how it's done. This is how it's done right to immerse your player base. So I would give the story either a 9.5 or a 10. Like it was that engrossing and that good for me. Everything gets so many more things from A Realm Reborn that have been left in the wind got tied back in. Things from Heavensward got tied back in. Things from Stormblood got tied back in, with still a lot more loose ends floating out in the wind for us to discover in the, you know, the 5X series coming up. We get the raid here, the normal raid here in another 2 weeks. Week and a half, essentially. But, yeah, I would strongly recommend you guys don't skip over the main cutscenes at least and watch it, because it's one of the most engrossing stories. So overall, I would give Shadowbringers so far, again, a lot can change, you know, Square can drop the ball, but I don't think they will. Overall, I would give Shadowbringers a 9. Yeah, I think it's better than Heavensward in terms of story and immersion, which is saying a lot. But anyway, guys, this has been Razio. If you've completed the main storyline quests, I'm really interested to know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you like Heavensward better? Do you like Stormblood better? I'm completely interested in knowing what you guys think. Anyway, guys, yeah, follow me on my Twitch stream. I still will be streaming a bit more this week, more than my normal schedule, because I'm doing the grind. So I'm going to be streaming it. So at this point on, there won't be spoilers. If you come into my stream and you have beat the main story quest, please try not to come in and spoil, or I'll mute you if you come in and start dropping spoilers all over you know, for people that are in the stream that haven't experienced it yet and don't want to be spoiled. If someone does want to be spoiled, send a PM to them and tell them they know what happens. But yeah, you can see the link now on the in the video now. But anyway, guys, I'll have more videos coming really soon, starting with a Dark Knight general overall impressions and guide. But as always, my friends, keep it real.